So, a little bit about Angie, or Ange even.
Yeah, so there's two Angies and Annika, and so there's one Ange and one Angie. So that's how we do it. But yeah, I'm Ange Padfield, and I've been working at Annika for about nearly 3.5 years now, and I love it. It's the best move as far as a career is concerned that I've had. Such a fantastic team to work with. And then I can't, in all my sales career, which has spanned 30 years, I haven't been able to actually sell anything that I don't thoroughly believe in, which is why it's so lucky that I've got this job, because Annika know their stuff. I knew, having dealt with like hundreds of agencies when I used to work for the Leicester Mercury years ago, I deal with agencies on a day-by-day basis, and Annika was the one that stood out to me as knowing what they're doing and having fantastic conferences and events. And so I rang Anne and said, it's your lucky day. I'm going to give you the first opportunity to work for you. And she said, all right then. Well, not that simple. I think you had to interview me first, Anne, but yeah. And I love sales. It is a soft skill, but it is quite a skilled job. And I've sold all sorts of things: furniture, ice cream, gym memberships, advertising, and now digital marketing. So people will probably think, what am I doing in Thailand? So I'm in between properties at the moment. Instead of spending a fortune on renting in the UK, I decided to spend what would be a pittance on renting in Thailand for 6 months until I bought my new property. So can't be a bad life.
And somebody's asked, did you...
The expo season, won't it, Anne?
That's exactly right. Somebody's asked, did you work at the Leicester Mercury with Jeff Tucker?
Jeff Tucker? Jeff Tucker doesn't ring a bell, no.
Okay.
May have been before my time. I think I joined in 2009 and I left in it was COVID when I joined. So it must have been 2020, I think. So I had 11 good years there. If you want to move on, Anne. A little bit about Annika. So Annika was established in 2007. We've got 23 staff, all very skilled in their own fields. We've got we've floated around about 40 clients at any given time. Who knows? Because Friday seems to be my lucky day. It has been in all my years in sales. So who knows? By the end of today, we could have 41. Let's hope. And then, we have 7 services. So we're a full service agency. See if I can get these right, Anne. PR, content, SEO, paid social. We do organic social as well. PPC and creative.
Did you mention analytics?
Oh, analytics and technical too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
See, I've made it easier. I say we've got 5 services, which is strategy, search, social, shopping, and skills. It's so much easier to remember 5 S's than it is to remember 7.
This is our team. There's not a lot to say on this slide. I thought I'd deleted this one. Sorry. But yeah, this is the guys. And then you see on this slide a lot of the different businesses that we work with. As far as the businesses we work with is concerned, my job is so exciting because I get to talk to different businesses every day, and they're so varied. And I'm a bit of a business junkie, so getting under the skin of what that business does and finding out all about them is like fantastic for me. It reminds me of there was a film with Tom Cruise in called Cocktail years ago. I don't know whether anyone remembers it, but they had a conversation in the film about a flugel binder, which is the little thing that holds the lace on a shoe together to put it through the hole. And that there was a factory that makes these flugel binders. And like every day, I'm absolutely astounded by all these different types of businesses and what makes them tick and what they do and how they do it. So we've been very lucky to work for some fantastic businesses. The name drop is Eon, Uber, NHS, Palex. You see them all on there. And we work for some quite unknown businesses as well, but that are quite big, really, aren't they? So
yeah, sometimes the business to business businesses where they nobody knows them apart from in their sector. So, and they could be massive. They could be, I mean, somebody like Automation Energy I think is a huge American corporation, but nobody in the UK knows it exists, and yet they've got hundreds of thousands of clients.
yeah,
It's very strange the sorts of the businesses you end up working with.
I think they're in some New York list or something.
Stock
One of the top.
exchange of some description, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So all other than the S's you mentioned, Dan, we've used for a lot of years the POETIC acronym. So it's just basically what I said, what we do. So we've got your paid media, your owned media, earned media, technical, insights and data, and creative. Anything that, because I'm in sales, I've got to say this at this point. If there's any of these services that you could do with or help with, support with, I'll pop my number in the chat in a little while, and just give me a ring and we'll help you with them. So we're quite proud to have won quite a few awards last year. It's early doors this year, and we do plan to win some more awards because we're always doing great work and getting great results for our customers. So last year, we had Large Media Agency of the Year, Best Shopping Campaign, Best Retail Campaign, Best Use of Conversion Attribution, and Best Use of Page Social. Lovely picture of our Emil and Ed on there. Ed's looking like he's trying to mimic some sort of bikini or something there.
They were very drunk at the time, weren't they? They got the Mickey taken out of them because they had kept on having to go up to get all these awards. So yeah, it was quite funny.
Okay. So moving on to the main body of the actual webinar. So the importance of lasting relationships in business. So first of all, if you move on to the next slide, Anne, what I want to do is to set the scene for what you're going to hear today. So I don't think, you see, we've got like loads of business owners in the room, and you probably had, before you owned a business, you probably had some sort of sales ability or customer relationship manager too. So I can't really teach you a subject. And I don't think you're going to really, it's not one of those webinars where you're necessarily going to learn stuff. It's more that you're going to be reminded and motivated and inspired to reach out to people that you haven't perhaps spoken to for quite a while. Sales, for example, I go to sales seminars and conferences regularly and webinars. And I can't say necessarily I learned something, but I always feel refreshed and motivated afterwards. So fingers crossed that's what you get out of today. So to set the foundation, these are some of the things that if you put into practice what you'll hear in the webinar, this is what you can achieve out of it. So customer loyalty, if you feel businesses that feel connected to you will have a sense of loyalty with you, and people do buy off people. So that relationship's essential. You'll get repeat business, you'll get a reduced churn, and it's easier to obviously keep a customer than replace one. And that'll, at times, it could either reduce your marketing spend, or if you continued marketing, it achieves the growth of more employees in your business. Trust and credibility, essential. So I would say it's really important to manage the expectations of your customers, because then you will come across as credible. So if you are going to be late on a piece of work, or you are going to, not be able to get back to them for a length of time, just let them know, drop them an email or something, just so that they have those expectations. Increased lifetime value, that goes hand in hand really with the reduced churn. We do have some short-term contracts. Like, I'll give you a couple of examples. So the NHS and the North Warwickshire and South Leicestershire College do short, sharp projects with us, but they keep coming back time after time. Most of our clients are 12-month contracts, and there's some of the clients that you saw on that slide before that we've had for years and years. Collaboration. So when we're talking about relationships and building relationships, it's not necessarily just with clients, it's with partners, prospects, employees and staff in your team. So collaborations will increase the revenue. It could be that you partner with another agency, for example, on a tender, and then you win the tender and work together like that. And then advocacy. So there's digital advocacy, of course. So there's online reviews and social love, but there's also direct referrals that you can get. And that's advocacy too. And we do have a lot of clients that refer us regularly. Excuse the coughing. And so ultimately, all of this means more revenue for your business. And if that's not convincing you that it's really important to build relationships, then I don't really know what will. So yeah, if you move on, Anne. So understanding the customer's needs. So this is something that we all do when we're talking to a prospect, but we also need to continue that as they become a client too. And there's different methods. So it's not just a question of just asking questions. There are different ways that you can identify the customer's needs. So we personally, what we do is we have a discovery session, and we have a document that we've developed over the years to add in all the commercial questions, you know, like your average order values, your profit margins. We need to really get under the skin of the business, ask loads of questions. And sometimes we go off track of that document because something's unearthed in a conversation that hasn't been covered in the document, and then we'll add things in later on. But we need to ask all the commercial questions. But as an agency as well, we do need to ask a lot of technical questions and questions about their previous marketing. And sometimes we actually, I mean, that initial conversation is a qualification of whether that is a right fit for our business. And there's quite often that we've actually been on a discovery call, myself and Anne, and we've worked out that the project isn't viable, or we've had to turn work away, or the website won't convert, or the budgets are too small. So we do actually turn work away, don't we, Anne? So
yeah, it's quite interesting. One of the things, I don't know whether you're going to talk about this, but one of the things that I find is that when you speak to somebody, because Anne's just most of the first contacts, but every now and again I'll pick a call up and I start asking them questions about the money and how they make their money and what their profits are and how much they can afford to get a new customer. And they're really shocked because nobody else has asked them these questions. And I'm thinking, well, what are the other agencies doing? You know, why aren't they asking these fundamental questions? And then I might look at their website and I say, oh, I'm really sorry. I don't think, or I ask them their budget and I say, I'm really sorry. I don't think you're ready to work with an agency yet. You know, your website's not really up to scratch. And if you spend a load of money trying to get, or you spend a load of time and effort trying to get people to your website, they're going to look at it and they're going to go away and say, well, nobody's told me that before. And I said, well, basically, a lot of people will just take your money and then in 3 months later or 6 months later, you can be really disappointed. Well, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather you go away and then come back, and at least you're going to trust us because we're honest. And I think that's I think we sort of tell people what they need to know rather than what they want to hear. I think that's definitely a mantra of ours. So I think that definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah, you're definitely stealing me webinar notes here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let you carry on.
It's true. I like that about us. And the thing is, even if somebody hasn't got a budget big enough, or they're just a startup or a small company, we'll always give the best advice possible, because as that company grows, they'll remember us and come back to us. So as well as asking all the probing questions in the initial stage, it's really important to continue asking those questions. So you need to know what the objectives of the customer are, what are their challenges, what are their pain points, and then keep asking those questions, because the business changes direction. There's new stuff happening within that business all the time. You don't stand still. So you've just got to revisit often the same questions or new questions every meeting that you have. It's not all about, for us, it's not all about, this is what we did last month, this is what the results are, and this is what we're going to do next month. It's about, learning like more and more about the customer and get the customer's needs on a constant basis. Also, before I go on a call with a client, and I know that our client services team do this too, we do social media listening. So we would go onto all the platforms of the customer, find out what they're doing so that we've got a little bit of a heads up and we've got our fingers on the pulse as to what that client's up to right now. And of course, by doing that, while you're there, you're liking and sharing their posts, which is helping their marketing. And so you're advocating their brand too. Data as well for identifying customer needs. So when we first speak to a client, we often go into their Google Ads account, go into their analytics. We can also use current clients and find out what their purchasing history is, what Google Trends is saying about their service or the market that in the sector that they're in. We also use SimilarWeb, which shows us what their competitors are up to. So these are all ways of just getting as much information about the customer and their business as possible. And then, of course, we would have regular brainstorming and focus groups with our clients so that it's a two-way process and they feel completely involved in all the decision-making and all of the, if we're going to go down a certain tactic or come up with a strategy or test different things, they understand why we're doing that, and they take not so much ownership, but they understand why we're going down a certain route, and they feel involved in that process. They learn more about us, we learn more about them, and where possible, we do try to do, even in this day and age after COVID, if a customer wants a face-to-face appointment, or if we can try and get a face-to-face appointment, we always prefer that. But actually, what we find is that there's some customers that actually don't want that at all nowadays. So horses for courses, and you get different, types of customers, and we'll adapt to meet their needs.
It's great when you can go into a business, though, isn't it? Because it's only really when you get into the business and you go around and look at it. So I remember recently we went round DSL, who they've got an e-commerce business, and the way that they also sell in all the garages, so you'll see all their products. But it's only when you went around the warehouse and you saw just the range of the stuff and the quality of the stuff that they did that you really started to understand what they did. Because just from an image on an e-commerce website, you can't get the same impression of a business and the quality of the product unless you literally have it in your hand.
I find, pretty much every business, it's great to go down and see what they're doing. But I don't know why I am, but especially in manufacturing, I find you have to pretty much immerse yourself in that sector to be able to really get a grip of what that customer does. Engineering, the same.
Yeah.
But B2B is my favourite. But as far as Annika is concerned, we look after e-commerce clients, B2B, the whole lot. But it's great to get face to face if you can. And I just wanted to touch on the role of empathy in a relationship, because it's just crucial. I mean, it's not hard, but it's crucial. So, you would just have to try and get a real good understanding of the perspective of the client. And, if they have pain points, feel their pain and feel their success, celebrate their success as well. It's really important. But like I say, it's really easy because people that have got empathy are people who care. And I'm hoping that everybody in this room is one of those people. And just some examples of some massive businesses that actually do a fantastic job from a digital perspective, to know their clients' needs. You've got Amazon, and they use your personalised recommendations, customer reviews, customer feedbacks, and they're continually adapting to meet the customer needs. And the customer needs the key is they're evolving. And so what people wanted off Amazon 2 years ago isn't necessarily what they want today. So this feedback that they're getting, it's changing all the time. So it's important when getting to know your clients, where their perceptions change and where their needs change. Netflix is another one, very good. Airbnb, HubSpot have got their feedback is the center of any product development they do. And I'd probably get shot if I didn't mention Annika's pretty good at it too, innit? So we do regular surveys. We have regular client meetings. We obviously are engrossed in our data, so we're always looking at the data. So yeah, I'd say we're pretty good at that. If you move on, Anne.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Or again?
Yeah, please. So communication methods. It's just people think, well, you just talk to people, don't you? You just ask them questions. But there's actually strategy and method to it, if you think about it. I love this meme. It reminds me of my MD. So let's communicate with funny memes instead of actually talking to each other. So Darren's our MD. And so he's the managing director, but I call it, for me, personally, he's like my IT manager on top. So if I've got a problem with anything, if I've got a spreadsheet or something I can't work out on PowerPoint, I just send Darren on Teams a help meme. And I think I've gone through every help meme going. And it's always I've ran out. And similarly, when we get a sale, if you work in a business with quite a few staff, when we get a sale, we've got a bell in our office, but we don't, obviously we're all working from home a lot more now. So I have to send my bell memes, and I'm pleased to say I've run out of bell memes too. So I must be doing something right. But yeah. So actual methods of communication and strategies of communication. First of all, this sounds daft, but active listening. So you'd think, what's active listening? Isn't it just listening? But no, because there's a thing such as passive listening. So I've had this experience times in meetings, especially on video calls. So I'll be on a video call and I'm sharing my screen, and it's obvious that the person on the other side of the call, or some people on the call, won't be looking at my screen. They'll be doing work in the background, or they're looking at something else, or they're trying to, even if they're trying to look at something that's going to benefit the meeting, if they're doing something else, they can't concentrate on what I'm saying. And that could be the other way around as well. So if a prospective client is talking to me and I can't see their face because I've got it on another screen, then I can't get those nuances of exactly what they're trying to portray and get across to me. So it's really important to give them your full attention. And then when they're asking questions as well, what I would say is you're not necessarily going to have all the answers straight away. So for example, with digital strategy, they want to increase their business and we want to help them, but there's no way I can be on a call and have all the answers as to how we're going to help them straight away. So it's not necessarily the case where you have to answer all the questions. It's good to reflect before responding to them. So also clear and concise communication. So I don't know whether you guys know the acronym. I couldn't think of it the other day. And like I say, I always ask Darren. He said TLDR. So that's the acronym that stands for too long didn't read. So always try when you're communicating in email fashion, and this goes for your email marketing as well, to keep that communication really concise. And yeah, less the jargon, try and be quite layman with it.
I thought you were going to send me a kiss then. I thought you were going to do the kiss one.
Oh, keep it simple, stupid. That's another acronym. Yeah, absolutely, you're right. Honest communication. So be completely transparent and open. And going back to what Anne was saying before, sometimes you're going to have to be blunt. Tell the truth. And that might be painful, and it might. So another example is customers come to us and they think they want SEO. This is just an example that, I don't know, all my competitors are doing it. I need to do it. I don't really know what SEO is, but I think I should be doing it because everyone else is. And then we might have to actually say, well, if you've only got that limited budget, you're probably better off doing paid in the first instance. So it's just being completely honest and open with the client. Be empathetic. We touched on that before. Have regular communication. So when you're in a meeting or on the phone or sending an email, you should always try and plan when you're going to speak to that person next, when they're going to hear from you next. And also that helps them to know, because you've managed the expectation and they know that that's when you're going to speak to them or email them or call them. You shouldn't really be coming off with no further action and no plan as to what to expect with that client. So that regular communication is key. And then that I said earlier on about this not necessarily being just client-centric. So that goes for prospects, that goes for partners that you work with. Prospects, definitely, because, those prospects could come back to you and say, do you know what? You're not right for us, or we're gone elsewhere. But a no, not now doesn't mean a no, not ever. So that even with a prospect that's come back to you and said that they don't want to work with you right now, it should still be, that's fine. I'm going to touch base with you in so many months' time just to find out how things are going. And I hope whatever you're doing is successful for you in the meantime. So yeah, we should always be touching base with prospects as well as clients. And then it's important to explore the best channels for communication by just asking those questions. So I think it's still the case, I might be wrong, but the county council used to have to use Skype up until, I know, at least last year. So they wouldn't use Teams, they wouldn't use Google Hangouts, anything. It had to be Skype. And then other people just know certain softwares better. So some people prefer Zoom, prefer Teams. The more corporate the business, it tends to be more Teams. We actually, as a business, use more Teams and Hangouts. But it's just ask the question, because if it makes life easier for the client, then that makes them a happy client. And then where am I? Oh, messages as well. So I personally, I don't leave voicemails because I don't tend to listen to voicemails much anymore. So this is like a way it's evolved in a way. So I'll WhatsApp my clients, Messenger and regular message, but maybe ask them, would you like me to contact you by WhatsApp? What's the best message chat method as well?
I wanted to come back to what you said about timings and things and expectations, because apart from the one we were talking about a little bit earlier, my other mantra is that you shouldn't over-promise or under-deliver. So, for example, a lot of people say, I'll get you the proposal by Friday, end of play. And yeah. I'd never say that. I always say, I'll get it for you for Monday morning, because they're not going to look at it on Friday, end of play. And it puts unnecessarily pressure to get you to get it out at that point. And quite often, because my life's so hectic, I end up having to do stuff, my paperwork at the weekend. And a lot of
you say that particularly because you graft all weekend.
Yes, that's true. But it just gives me the flexibility that if I haven't had the time, but also I don't want to be calling them at 4:00 on a Friday night and say, oh, I'm really sorry. I had 10 meetings today and I haven't made it. Whereas I know that I'm never going to let anybody down if I promise it for Monday morning.
And if you know your job well enough and you know how long things take, you should be able to give quite an accurate expectation as to when they should get something. And if, we all have it where we are late with stuff. at times. We're human, for goodness sake. So, but as long as, you know, for me, if I was going to be late on something, I'll tell them before the deadline that it's going to be late, rather than just say nothing. Manage everything as well you can. And that is one of my points for communication, is like to be timely. I would hope to think that most businesses have a service level agreement. We have a service level agreement where we have to get back to the client within 5 hours of an email. Even if it's just to say, I'll look into it, I'll be back to you by X time. But we also have like a service level agreement because we wait on quite a bit of things from our clients too. So if they're QCing, for example, a PR piece, we'd want them to QC that in a timely manner so that we can actually get on with distributing it. Also, as far as communication is concerned, it's, again, it sounds quite obvious, but be positive. So inspiring storytelling, creative ideas, celebrate their achievements, focus on solutions and opportunities instead of issues and problems. So we do a lot of audits for different services, and it would be really easy for us to turn up and say, oh my goodness, you're in a right state here, and frighten the living hell out of that potential client. But the way we talk to people is to show them, you know, how, you know, it doesn't matter where it's at now. It's the opportunity of what you could get if you put everything right. And I would say, you know, we're always looking at opportunities at Annika. Also, conflict resolution with communication. So when there has been a problem, and it happens to the best of us, it's just a question of going into the meeting with a clear plan of what the solution could be, and working together collaboratively to get a solution to that too. So one piece of advice I would give you, if there is some sort of conflict between yourself and a customer, first of all, do not contact them if you're angry or mad. You need to calm down before you communicate. And also, don't concentrate on blame. Think about solution. That's that's what I have on communication methods and strategies. So if you move on, Anne.
Okay, bear with me.
So how to build trust? It's a funny one because Geordies, I'm a Geordie, and I think the further north you get, we've got this habit of like trusting everyone until they prove otherwise. And I feel like the further south you get, it's a question of you've got to gain the trust in the first instance, where we just trust automatically as Geordies. But, you know, most of the world isn't Geordie. And I'd say 80 to 90% of the people that purchase from us have had a bad experience in the past. I'll hear the word cowboy a lot, you know, and, you know, these people that have spent fortunes on the marketing and they've had such a bad experience. So it's so important to build that trust when, you know, I'm sure that when they spoke to another agency, when they started their marketing with them, they believed them too, but obviously they didn't do the job. So there's some just tricks of the trades on how to build that trust. It's going to be a little bit repetitive here, but be reliable, be consistent, be dependable, show your competence, your expertise, your skill. That'll prove to them why they come to you. So again, it's why I'm so lucky that I work at Annika, because we've got such high skill levels. There's not a proposal that I finish or a reporting call with a client where I don't feel like I've learned something and I'm proud of the team and their expertise and their skill. So be transparent, lay all your cards on the table and do that. Even if you've made a mistake, if you've done something wrong, you should still, put your hands up, because that's what you have to do sometimes. Have integrity. Another reason that, it sounds like a sales pitch, this, but it's just another reason that I'm loving Annika, because we've got ethics, we've got moral standards. We never take somebody's money unless we know that it's going to be a viable project. So have integrity as a business, because it goes such a long way. If you haven't got integrity, you'll not be in business though. Accountability, again, just putting your hands up when you're wrong, making sure that if you're going to do something for a client, you do it timely. Talk the long game as well, because I don't know, I was a potential client I was talking to, and we're talking about the next 5 years, because that's a relationship, that's a partnership. So it's not what, like I said earlier, we have got some short-term contracts because that's the needs of the business, but we should be, all of us talking the long game, talk about the future, talk about 5-year plans. We should know what our clients, and hopefully they've got 5-year plans, but we should know what their plans are for the next 5 years. You'd be surprised how many clients haven't even got a 1-year plan or a business plan, or prospects, should I say, in the first instance. But yeah, have collective decision making. So get agreement from the client so that that they've bought into the ideas that you're bringing up in whatever meeting it is. And then my philosophy's always been, if this was my business, what would I do? So, like, if I was going to be spending this money on marketing, or this money at all on whatever product or service, is it going to be valuable to the business? Is it going to be revenue generating? Is it going to help me grow? And if I ask that question and put myself in the shoes of the business that I'm talking to, and I can honestly say that, I've bought into the strategy that we're proposing, then I'm happy to propose it. And then that builds trust from the client. Okay. So, I'm not sure what slide you've got up on. Let me just check.
I've got the build the trust slide. Build your trust slide. Do you want me to move on?
Please.
Technology and tools next.
Okay. I'm not going to spend too long on this slide, but, well, first of all, I just want to tell you that whether you think it is or it's not, CRM is your friend. I have this client, it's a Montfort University. There's so many different, like with councils and unis, there's so many different departments. But there's this one client, they come to us every year to bring their students for what is a day in the life at a real agency really like. So we show about 30 students from DMU what it's really about. And they pay for that. But if I didn't, there's no chance I'm going to remember to speak to them every January to talk to them about that event unless it's in my CRM. So CRM should be your friend, and CRM should be almost like it's your right arm. I mean, you shouldn't, as a business, there's so many free softwares out there for CRM. No matter how small you are, there should be a CRM system incorporated in each business. Then customer files with documents in, such as the order confirmations, the invoices, the proposals that you've done, the reports that you've done with them. So there's one go-to place for each customer. Google Analytics is your friend too. That's going to give you the insights we talked about before to help your client. SimilarWeb's the software we use, but maybe not all companies invest in it. we can only get the data out of SimilarWeb, which helps us look at competitors and what's happening in your industry. If the client has got at least 3,000 hits to their website on a monthly basis, but it is something that we can look at for you, so we can give you like a competitor analysis if you have over 3,000 hits. So you're more than welcome to get in touch after the webinar for us to help you with that. Buying habits data, so we can use Sage or whatever invoicing software we use to get that out. Another method of communication that I haven't mentioned is chatbots. And really good for websites. We've got one on there on our website. Trello and ClickUp, so it makes sure that these are softwares where we can put in the actions that we're supposed to deliver with dates. And we use ClickUp personally, and we've got ClickUp Police in Annika, so that if something's not done in the timely manner, the ClickUp Police will be knocking on your door. Zoom info, that's another, I don't know whether you want to touch on that as far as relationship building is concerned, Anne, like how we
we currently use SharpSpring. We've got Go High Level, but there's HubSpot, and there's loads of I've just put a link to an article on free CRM, customer relationship management software. Zoom info is more buying the data and having the ability to search. So instead of just going to somebody like Experian, say, can I buy a list off you of 2,000 marketing managers in the food industry, or going into LinkedIn and trying to do a search and then connecting them. This allows you to buy that data, but it also has got the functionality to send emails. But it's not cheap, and you've got to be using it every month to really get the benefits out of it. The advantage of it is you can set some automation up, so you can set up automation of anybody that comes to your website. You can sort of send an email to people from that company, but it is quite a big investment. And I think for the majority of you, particularly the learners that are on the current course, you'll probably find that you won't be able to afford that yet, and you're better off paying something like $50 and getting a paid version of Sales Navigator in LinkedIn. That would be a better investment.
I'm just conscious of time, Anne, so if you don't mind just moving on to this slide that says, how do you know if you're doing okay at this? So, yeah, the thing is, you probably all think you build relationships and you concentrate on relationships and you're great at it, because I think I'm great at it. But how, that's my perception of me, and what other people's perception of me is could be completely different. So there's got to be like a way to actually work out, are you doing okay at this? And then I was just wanting to sort of touch on measurement and how you can measure certain things that you can do to measure how you're doing well. So the thing is, sometimes when we lose a client, I'm quite lucky to say that it's not luck, or if it is luck, it's labour under controlled knowledge, that acronym. But when we do lose a client, we understand that it's coming. We understand why they're leaving, and we've got much prior notice to it. Where you do have to worry is if you're getting these surprises where you're losing a client and you really didn't expect it, that's where the alarm bells ring. So what some of the methods of measurement to actually work out whether you're doing well at this, looking at the revenue, of course, look at the churn, look at the average customer retention. These are all things that you can have charts on a monthly basis where you're just checking through. You want to be sending regular surveys to your customers. And can you explain the NPS score?
NPS, Net Promoter Score. So Net Promoter Score, I can't remember the formula, but it's all the people. It's a ratio of all the people that like you. So sort of score over 9 out of 10 versus the the percentage of people that give you, I think, 8 or less than out of 10. So it's basically a sort of like a satisfaction score. But what I'll do is I'll go and Google it and stick it in the chat because I can't remember the exact number. But yeah, you want to be having a net promoter score of 80 or 90% at least, really. And if it's less than that, then you're not doing very well. But it can change over time. So sometimes you need to sort of benchmark where you are and see that change. And you can do an employee, if you're a big enough company, you can do an employee one as well.
You can also use your CRM to gauge the average number of touch points and engagements that you have with the client. If you're using, it's garbage in, garbage out, isn't it? If you're using your CRM correctly, you may be able to work out how many touch points before you actually get a client on board. And then once you have that client, making sure that you've got an average number of touch points that's acceptable to keep that client. You can gauge success on repeat business, extra work that you have off a client. And also, and I'm proud to say that we get a lot of these, referrals. So I can't see, if you're doing good work for a client, what would be the reason that they wouldn't know somebody that could benefit from your service? I think the problem with that is, as far as referrals are concerned, is it's not front of their mind to refer because they've got their day job to do. Referring to you isn't their priority. But I tell you what, if you've got a good relationship, if you ask for that referral, they'll put it on their list and they will send you one. They will do an e-introduction. So maybe, as a business, you need to look at how many referrals have you had lately. If you ain't had any, it's probably because you haven't asked for any. And then I just wanted to finish off by telling you a little bit about the relationships that I'm a bit proud of, to be honest. So I started by explaining that I've been in sales for 30 years. These are very different people, obviously, but different types of relationships. So the first lady here is Tammy Meehan, and Tammy works for De Montfort University Business School. When I first met her, it would have been in 2010, there or thereabouts, and she'd only just moved to Leicester from rugby, and she didn't have a network at all. She didn't know anyone. I spoke to her from the Leicester Mercury to talk to her about the business school's advertising. And now she's actually one of the best connected people I know. From nurturing that relationship, we worked together when I was at the Leicester Mercury. The DMU Business School was a business partner of ours. We worked on the Innovation Awards together. We worked on the Business Festival together. We've gone to various award ceremonies together. We're always networking together. Not while I'm in Thailand, but I still ring her on WhatsApp about once every fortnight or so. She's constantly keeps me in the loop with what's happening in the Leicester business world because she's got a finger on the pulse. And she's always sending me leads, or you need to go to this, or you need to do that. We've been out for coffee, we've gone for lunch, we've had drinks together. We went to Leicester City Football Club to watch a match together. And she's like one of my best personal friends. So that's like a relationship from me ringing them up cold to 14 years later. So she's a massive advocate of Annika as well. Bill, this is the next guy. Bill's 75. I met him 25 years ago. He owns Evans Fireplace Centre in Syston. There's your plug, Bill. And also Firecraft, who are a manufacturer of stone fireplaces. So I sold him a membership to a gym, which was what I used to sell back in the day. And it was the favourite gym I ever sold memberships to. And it was actually based in Leicester. It's now called Abbey Sport and Leisure, just round the corner from our offices. So I sold him a gym membership. How that relationship's evolved is we played squash together, pool together. We've been out for curries. I set up as a freelancer, went into his business and set up a gas servicing element of his business. I moved to the Leicester Mercury. He became one of my top advertisers. Then I would take holiday from work to support him on his exhibition stands at Grand Designs and Ideal Homes. He gave my ex-husband a couple of months' work when he'd lost work. And when his wife had a heart attack, I went and worked in his shop for him to support him. And he's been a personal friend for over 25 years. So I'm quite proud of that one. And I love Bill very much. Caroline. This is the third lady here. So Caroline used to be a director of Annika, but that was I don't think way before my time, but definitely before my time.
It was only about 6 months. Because she moved to
me.
Yeah, because she moved.
Yeah. I'm gutted she didn't
to
cross over.
Yeah, she moved to De Montfort Uni, didn't she, as a lecturer?
Yeah, so Caroline lectures at DMU. When I started working at Annika, I got to introduce to Caroline from Anne, and she's been an absolute rock of support for me. And she's really I would say she's actually mentored me throughout my time at Annika. So she's been fantastic to me. I know all about our family, our life, our holidays, our trips away with the uni. We speak regularly, just to find out what's happening in her life, what's happening in mine. And then she's a massive referrer. She's a massive advocate of Annika, and she'll always think of us first and always contact me. And she's also a client, so it's her students that come once a year to find out what agency life's real life really like. And we actually end up telling the students, forget everything you've learned in uni. This is what really happens. So it's a good day. I love it. But yeah, she's been fantastic. That's a really great relationship that Annika Digital have. And then finally, the last lady here, Natasha. So we met Natasha when she worked for East Anglia LEP. A LEP, just in case you don't know, is a local enterprise partnership. And Natasha appointed us for one of the government-funded digital marketing boot camps. She left, and then she went to a different organisation called the LEP Network. So she's got a finger on the pulse with everything LEP orientated across the country. And we keep in touch. And unlike the other three guys, Natasha's really hot on getting back to you on LinkedIn. I know this, so this is how we communicate. And I'll say, oh, do you know of any other boot camps that are coming up, or have any of the next waves come out yet? What do you know, Natasha? And she sends us everything she knows. And then we've won business off the back of that. I think it was Lincolnshire was the last one we won, wasn't it, Anne?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the LEPs are going to be dissolved soon. And then Natasha's going to be able to tell me what the different strategies for the different cities and counties are, because she'll have her fingers on the pulse so that we can keep abreast of everything that's happening in the news. So these were just some examples of relationships. And we've got a minute, and I didn't know whether, Anne, you wanted to give an example of your own.
Well, there is a little bit of a secret, because Caroline and I have been friends for over 25, well, more than 25 years now. It's probably nearly 30. We actually worked together before Annika even existed, when we had a property website, and she was writing. She's actually from a PR and content background, but we brought her in to set up the PR team at Annika. So that relationship goes back way, way back. One of the ones I wanted to mention was, because I used to do a lot of training through the e-business club, which then became it was EU funded money through the Chamber of Commerce across the East Midlands, and Leicester and Nottingham, etc. And I was doing that for, even before Annika existed. So Annika's 17th birthday in 2 weeks' time, or 3 weeks' time. And I was doing the training even before then. And I met a girl called Sveni, who is often on these webinars. And we managed to get and I've got a life science background, so I used to work in a lot of science and medical research. So she sort of knew that, and she was working for Merck Biosciences, which is a massive company, and they had one of their offices was based in Leicester, and we did a load of Google ads for her. And then she worked for Experian and moved to Experian, and the Merck work went back to their head office in the States. So we lost that before she left. And then when she moved to Experian, she did various jobs and gradually moved up to head of digital. So I think that was around 13 years ago, maybe more. And we've had various contracts with Experian all of the time, and we're doing some work there. But the interesting thing is the number of people from Experian as a result of meeting Sveni that we still work with, because we work with a guy called Tony Nestorov, who now is in Czechoslovakia working at Avon in Czechoslovakia, and we've done some work with him. Richard, who went on to work with Eon, and we've been doing a lot of work with him. So it's that sort of network that came out of training 13 years ago, and all the sort of tendrils of how that's come through. And these have been good clients, and it was that chemistry of liking the fact that I really knew my stuff and made an effort to keep up to date. And they said that they found that, and the fact that I always got really good team, and the team that I only employed people that knew more than me or knew as much as me, which they liked. And also the fact that we sort of were very proactive. So doing things like the webinars and always coming to them with the ideas. Oh, have you thought about, I'll give you a good example. GA4, we were talking about 2 years before GA4 came out, which is Google Analytics 4. And at the moment, Google's announced that you've got to get your cookie consent policy sorted. Otherwise, Google ads are going to close down. And not only that, all your old Google Analytics is all going to finish in July. So we're proactively contacting clients saying, we need to fix this, when actually a lot of agencies aren't even talking about it. So I think that sort of tendril and trusting you because you know your stuff, and also trusting you to act as a sort of an extension of the team has been secret of our success, really. So good things came out of just training and meeting people, and then as their career changed. Oh, and then Sveni went to Cambridge and Counties, which we also work with. So I'm not sure what she's doing at the moment. So
that's the amount of people that we've worked with, Experian, because you know the ones you know, and I can't think off the top of my head, but the amount of staff that moved on elsewhere and just come straight back to us to want to work with us is unreal.
Yeah, no, it's been really
good testament to us.
Hi, thank you so much for that, Ange. That was really interesting.
Do you know how bad it is listening to your own voice back?
No, that was really good. Thank you so much for that. Really interesting. I think you've answered pretty much all the questions.
Yeah, I was just reading the comment just now about the person that got ghosted. It is upsetting, as well. You put in so much time and effort into something, and then people won't even get back to you. And I'm not exactly one to excuse me, reply to all the spam you get every day in your email. You're not going to do that, but there's just manners, isn't there? And if somebody's put the time and effort to when you're pitching something, you're only doing it for the good of that person so that they can increase their business, or have a new product that's going to help their business, something like that. And for them just to ignore you afterwards, it happens to everyone, though. We all get it. But you think, what have I done? But you've done nothing. It's just people aren't as well mannered as you, perhaps. So
that's it.
People how you want to be treated. That's
spot on. Yeah, spot on. I completely agree with that. Well, we've run a couple of minutes over 10, so I'm going to launch the offers. Thank you so much for sharing that again with us, Ange. Hopefully that should pop up on your screen. So we'd really appreciate any feedback given if you enjoyed this webinar. And that's for the Google reviews, and then I'll pop up the reviews.io as well. And that's there as well. So thank you so much for joining today. And the recording will be available in maybe a couple of hours' time. Handouts are in the handout section, just in case you haven't grabbed them yet. And apart from that, we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice
Bye.
weekend. See you. Bye.